Hi, my name is Deb Olin Unferth, and I'm here to read from my new novel, Vocation, from McSweeney's. The novel's about a man named Myers who leaves his wife and goes off in search of the man who he believes is responsible for the dissolution of his marriage. His search brings him to Nicaragua, and he's carrying this guidebook around. So I'm going to start just by reading a few passages from that guidebook, which originally I had written them intending to write an actual guidebook, but that never came to pass. So here we go. He would not have to go far to see the Nicaraguan wonders around him, his guidebook informed him. There was a live smoking volcano right on the outskirts of town that anyone could visit and witness, no special permits necessary, and no volcanic equipment either, because it wasn't going to explode in anyone's face, and lots of people lived all around it and walked over it every day and planted their corn on it, and they didn't have to wear any special hats or protective goggles. And on top of having a live smoking volcano, they had earthquakes too, and everybody had to hold on to their hats, or they could topple over like plastic army men, and you didn't see them complaining. To witness this special volcanic event, all one had to do was take a bus or a taxi, ride up the volcanic slant, observe the billows of smoke that rise from the pit of the earth, have one's moment of fear or awe or existential crisis in the face of this bit of torn-up planet, then get back in the transport and return to the hotel. This is a fine adventure, and many others are available as well, but one has to choose, one always must. And a few blocks from where his feet now rested was Nicaragua's very own indoor, climate-controlled shopping mall, built in the happy tradition of Victor Gruen, a confirmation of Nicaragua's social and aesthetic alignment with the modern. The guidebook had an impressive list of items Myers could purchase and take back to his country, and had a photograph of the escalator he could ride and of the food court he'd reach at the top. He could see it for himself if he followed the little map over the sidewalks and through the labyrinth of traffic. Who knew what awaited him on the other side of the street if only he'd step across? And there's no sense in acting like a snob about it, acting like you're going to come all the way here and not want to shop. No sense in that, because everyone knows that everyone wants to shop, no matter who you are or where you're from. Everyone wants to, everyone. What else did you come all the way here for if not to seize and take back what you also have at home? The country also featured any number of volunteers at any given time. These volunteers, not unlike Santa's elves, hailed from Myers' very own country as well as from helpful guilt-ridden European ones such as Germany. He could observe these volunteers in a wild habitat location and witness their good works for himself. The country was stuffed with these people, frankly, so much so that sometimes they couldn't quite fit and had to be tied together with bamboo rope and sent home on a raft. But this year, the country had just the right amount of volunteers, and you could glimpse them from several vantage points, taking a break from their labors of latrine digging and stair building, or from making their solemn advisements in regards to matters of business, religion, childcare, gardening, and diplomacy. The Nicaraguans are careful with them. They don't burn the volunteers by leaving them out too long in the sun or drown them by throwing them into the sea. They don't place them under a mango tree because a piece of fruit could fall on their heads and knock them over. They don't lock the volunteers out in the rain or accidentally run them over with their trucks. They feed them every day and encourage them to propagate among themselves. The Nicaraguans don't say things like, "What do you think, that we can't perfectly well dig our own toilets? Get out of the way, would you? Go build your stairs over there where no one will trip on them, for Pete's sake." They never say that, because it's not easy out there for the volunteers with only their little sewing machines and toy shovels to work with. Besides, it's nice to have them around. It's a lot better than getting exploded by 100-pound bombs. It's a lot better than getting smeared into vapors in the air. So then the next part that I'll read is from what I had imagined if I was writing my own guidebook, from You know how every guidebook has a section of travel advisories, precautions, what to do in an emergency. So this is from that. In an earthquake, if trapped, the experts advise, do not light a match, do not move or kick, do not shout. Use a whistle or tap on a pipe. Yes, one should always carry a whistle in earthquake country because you might be crushed under a building and not able to holler for help, but only able to breathe lightly into your whistle. Or you might be buried alive under the bricks and have just enough air to toot, while your voice, should you have the strength to scream, is absorbed into the dust and paint. Or you might be flung far from civilization and have 2 broken feet so you can't walk back and 2 broken arms so you can't drag yourself over the dirt, but you do have this handy whistle which, if you are too far to be heard and rescued, can be used as solo entertainment while you wait to slowly die. So bring your whistle. Of course, it is always possible that you wind up with your arm stuck under a slab of concrete so you can't reach the whistle, as Myers' arm is now. So it is best to keep the whistle in your mouth. No one with a whistle cuts an odd figure, though it may be difficult to speak with a whistle in your mouth. Not to mention, how are you supposed to eat with a whistle in the way? Or take a drink? Or sleep on your face? Advice: make someone else hold the whistle. But what if you don't have anyone else? What if you're all alone? In that case, sit with the whistle in your mouth. Don't eat or sleep. Don't examine the celebrated contents of your surroundings. Don't do anything. Wait for the earthquake. The earthquake is coming. And then finally, I'm going to read one more segment that is a narrative, and it's part of the story of our character, Myers. So, Myers was finally in Bluefields. And now the question was, why Bluefields? He couldn't recall. Certainly he must have had a reason to propel him forward each dawn, if not an original reason that he'd forgotten, at least a purported reason, one that he told people over and over, one he emailed home. It couldn't be that he thought he would find tourists at the other end, bank machines and beaches and blue skies and song, bring on the Caribbean dream. He couldn't have thought that. Who other than he would come this far and go this long? Who other than he? He walked from the dock, numb, wet, wanting only the internet. The main street was a pit of mud. At that point, it seemed impossible that he could still be looking for the man his wife followed or be waiting for his wife to arrive, but he was. Maybe it was a different man, or a different wife, or maybe the same ones with different names. Maybe there was no wife anymore, only the habit of emails home. He took a room in the Hotel Caribbean Dream of all things for $4 a night. He was the only guest. That day in Bluefields, he didn't see any tourists like he hoped. A truck like a tank wobbled down the street and sprinkled a great mist of repellent over them all. The earth rumbled with a minor quake, and everyone held out their hands for balance. But then he came out of his hotel and saw a North American sitting on a step as if they were in Brooklyn. "I haven't seen anyone like me in a week," said Myers. "A week?" said the man. "Who's like you? There's no part of that sentence I understand." "Where are the tourists?" said Myers. "The reggae bars." "I've never seen a tourist here." He studied Myers. "Is that what you are?" "No," said Myers. "I'm just here to check my email." And lo and behold, he and Myers were from the same town, although the man didn't know how to act like someone from that town anymore. He kept speaking the wrong language. "In the U.S. we speak English these days," Myers thought it fair to inform him. "Is that right? And what was I speaking?" "I don't know what that was." And lo and behold, the man knew just where Myers could check his email. As they walked through the streets to reach it, the man said, "I can get you a girlfriend, a local, just so you know." "I have a wife," Myers said. He wasn't sure of that. "That's an angry arm you've got there," the man said. "It's a little crunched." "You looked banged up elsewhere, too. You get in a fight?" "I could use a doctor," Myers admitted. "Oh, yeah, a doctor. Just be careful. Don't let anyone do any voodoo on you." Myers had no new messages. It was on a hill they walked up that he told Myers what happened, how he got stuck in this spot. They walked up that hill in the heat and drizzle for the same reason people ride rivers or sail out into the sea. I was fishing off the coast of Bluefields, the man said. I had a crew of 3. I was standing on the deck looking out at the water. Suddenly they jumped on me, 3 at once, and hit me over the head with a pipe. A pirate ship, said Myers. Not a pirate ship, said the man, a little annoyed. It was my fish. It was my fishing ship, my crew. They jumped on me, he said. One was hitting my legs with a pipe. Another was hitting my head, blood everywhere. I wouldn't go down. Why not? Myers gasped. I was screaming. I was crazy. I don't know what I was doing. I went down at last. They tied me up with cord. Look, I have scars still. Look at my ankles. I still limp from the pipe. He still had scars around his ankles, thick, uneven rings. They held a machete to my throat, he said. You're going to fucking die, man. Die in Bluefields, one kept saying. Let me do him right now, another kept saying. Then they locked me in a room and left me there. I pushed the air conditioner out the window and jumped into the water. I escaped. It was freezing in that water, he told Myers, and shark-infested. I was bleeding. I was so far from land. I swam for hours. At last, I made it, and I crawled up on the rocks. I ran to a door, a long trail of blood behind me. I pounded on that door, and an old man opened it. I told him, I'll give you $500 cash. I'll go to the bank and give you $500 cash if you'll drive me in your boat to the U.S. military base right now. You said that? Myers gasped. Well, first I asked him for a glass of water. I was immensely thirsty. Can I have a glass of water? I said, and then I said I'd give him $500. The old man said, $500 US? All right, let's go. And we went out to his boat, but the damn thing wouldn't start. He kept trying, and finally I said, Old man, give me that thing, and I nearly tore the engine off. Myers never heard of anybody going through something like that and not going home. What happened to the engine, he said. I started it, and I was saved. In Bluefields it was dusk, and 100 years' worth of birds were flying in, coming over the rooftops. The birds landed and landed on wires, on posts. Still more arrived, and more circling in from all sides. They were strikes, clouds. The noise was an invasion. The air was a long note. It cannot be described on a page. It would be impossible to capture in a movie. There is no way to represent it. Being there wouldn't do it. You'd have to be Myers, see what he saw. It was like an emergency, like he had stopped breathing, the first bell toll of the apocalypse. Meanwhile, around them, men chopped their coconut, chatted among themselves. That's simply how things move in this wet country. I'd like to go home, the man said. Are you like most people at home? Myers is like most people at home.